Hello everyone and welcome back to the Alex Craig YouTube channel, where today I'm doing a really early championship prediction. Now I'm not going to be going 1 to 24. Last time I did that was a couple of days before the season started. I spent hours and hours and hours researching, then hours and hours and hours editing the video. I didn't get a single one right. So this one, it's the complete opposite. That being said, massive thank you to you guys' support on my ranking of championship grounds. If you haven't already seen that, go and check that out after this video. However, over 90% of people that watch that video were not subscribed. So if you're not subscribed, please do. It helps the channel out a lot, and leave a like if you enjoy the video. I have got up the tier maker and I've got 5 separate categories. I've got first and second. This is my early prediction on the 2 teams to be up there to pretty much get automatic promotion. I've then got the 4 teams that I'll put in the playoffs and the 3 teams that I'll put in the relegation. Everyone else, I'm going to say their expectation, whether it's pushing for playoffs, whether it's mid-table, maybe just about staying up. So I've mixed things up. I don't want to go in any sort of order. We're going to start off with Charlton, and I think their expectation is probably relegation, to be honest. They came up through the playoffs, they beat Leyton Orient, and just watching that playoff campaign, no disrespect to Charlton, I think they've got a decent side for League One. But for the Championship, I think the just standard difference in the Championship of League One is absolutely massive. And when we get onto the 2 sides that were both promoted automatically from League One, they're just a level above from everyone else in that league. So yeah, I think Charlton are going to be in relegation, and I know that they've just given Nathan Jones a new contract, but my prediction is I feel like he's going to get sacked. I really do. I mean, he gives it all this big I am. Realistically, if Charlton don't get down to a good start by Christmas, they're in the bottom 3. You know, it could just be he gets a sack, they bring in a new manager, maybe things do change. They do have a couple of players that have played at this level before. Matty Godden's a good example. But, I mean, to show that he had to drop to League One to get back to his best, I think really says a lot, really. So, for me, I think Charlton will be in the relegation zones. And I think most people's predictions will be Charlton in the relegation. Next up, Oxford, a team that I think I backed to go down last year. I think they're going to be mid-table, and I don't think they're going to really worry at all. I don't think they'll be in the relegation zone very much. Realistically, yes, Oxford, they're seen as the small club that have come up from League One a couple of seasons ago. They've got 3 stands in their stadium, but they've got a bit of money. They've signed some decent Championship players, and they stayed up last season pretty comfortably in the end. Watford next, again, I think they're going to be mid-table. I don't think they're really going to be much of a threat to playoffs. Their Premier League yo-yo has kind of faded away now. I think they're just going to have a mid-table season. Preston, I could easily put them in the mid-table section, but at the same time, they're having a massive rebuild this summer, and, you know, it can either go one way or another. They could either be pushing for playoffs or relegation. I'm going to play it safe, put them in mid-table now, but Preston's a really difficult one to do. Sheffield United next, I think they're bang on playoffs, but they can either do a Leeds where they start next season really well and they're just up there. 90 points not to get promoted must be a little bit devastating, to lose the way they did as well. I'm going to put them in playoffs. I expect them to lose Gustavo Hamer, maybe Sousa as well, but they've still got that quality in the side. And if they do keep Wilder and they do recruit well, I think playoffs should be minimum expectation for Sheffield United next season. Bristol City, now, they obviously finished 6th last season. For me, I think they're going to be mid-table. I don't even think they're going to push for the playoffs. I don't think, maybe after the end of August, and I'm only saying this because they could have an easy start and win their first few games. They've lost Liam Manning. It wouldn't surprise me if they lose a few key players. I don't think they'll be in the playoffs after August. I really don't. I think they're going to have a pretty lacklustre season. One that I don't think will have a lacklustre season is Birmingham City. I'm putting them in the playoffs, and I've expected them to be in the playoffs. I made a joke in the last video saying they're in for a shock, and the Birmingham fans were crying. I'm expecting you to finish in the top 6 with the money that your owner's got, and he's investing and he's buying Championship quality players in League One. I mean, playoffs, or at least pushing for playoffs, should be an expectation. But I think out of the 2 newly promoted sides, they're the one most likely to do it. Blackburn Rovers, now, I predicted them to get relegated last season, and they were pushing for the playoffs. However, John Eustace has gone. I'd expect a couple of key players to go as well. I mean, I do really want to sit here and predict this is the season the Venky's are going to sell the club, but I don't think they're going to. I am actually going to put Blackburn down in the relegation zone, but I don't know, just the way the club's being ran, really poor. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when they get relegated under the Venky's, and it is a real shame. Leicester next. I think Leicester are going to push for playoffs. I don't see them finishing in the top 6 if they get a points deduction, and I'm going to put that on board. I do feel like it's going to happen, but simply because the FA have to make an example of someone in a big way. and I don't think it's going to be Manchester City. I just feel like it's going to be Leicester if it is anyone. I mean, you break the rules, you get punished. Man City realistically should get punished even more. I feel like it's going to be Leicester. And if they do get a minus 15 and they keep the core of their squad and they improve, they could be in and around the playoffs. But the difference in the last time they're in the Championship than now is they obviously haven't got Dewsbury Hall, Jamie Vardy, Enzo Maresca isn't their manager anymore, and they don't seem to rate Ruud van Nistelrooy. So for me, they're just pushing for playoffs. Millwall, I want to put them in the playoffs, and realistically, they're probably 2 or 3 signings away. They've got Alex Neil, who's a really, really good manager, and some quality players like Ivanovic, Japhet Tanganga. But for me, another team pushing for playoffs. I would like to see Millwall finish in the playoffs next season because they're always up and around there, really. West Brom, another team that really should be pushing for playoffs. A pretty underwhelming season last year. When Tony Mowbray came in, it was probably the wrong time for him. I know he is a proper West Brom manager. Middlesbrough, I really don't know. Obviously, they've sacked Carrick. I don't know whether that is going to come back to bite them or it's going to help them a lot. I feel like from a Borough perspective, they need to, next season, they need to get into the playoffs. The amount of money they're spending, the key players that they've got year after year after year, I don't want to put them in the playoffs because I'm not too confident on it. I am, again, going to put them pushing for playoffs, but they really should expect to be in that top 6. If it's not next season, the season after. Swansea, I think mid-table. I think that's all I can really say. I know when they lost Matt Grimes, it was World War III for a few weeks for them, but they, finished last season pretty well. I don't see them really pushing for playoffs with the quality of the sides in this league, but for me, Swansea are just kind of mid-table. Sheffield Wednesday, Chansiri's not paying no wages. Danny Roll doesn't want to be at the club. Windas's contract situation, it just screams for relegation for me. Norwich is another one I'm going to put in the playoffs. This is a little bit of an out there one. I know they haven't been in the playoffs, very consistently over the past few seasons. They were a yo-yo club for a long time. For me, though, I mean, just looking at Norwich, they have to make some big signings this summer, and I feel like the owner will throw a bit of money at it. Just from a Coventry perspective as well, Norwich are always a really, really hard team to beat. And if they're like that, then it really wouldn't surprise me if they're in the playoffs. But they have to keep Sargent. Borges signings will probably go. That wouldn't surprise me. But if they do keep them too, it wouldn't surprise me if they're in the playoffs. And they have to reinvest the money they make from selling either one of them two if they are sold. Going on to us next, I don't want to put us first or second. I do want to put us in the playoffs. But just from the second half of last season and the improvement we saw under Frank Lampard, we're a couple of signings away from just being a top 2 side. I don't want to overestimate it and get really excited like I did last year when I said we'd finish second, so I'm going to put us in the playoffs. QPR next. I really don't know about QPR. I mean, Marty Cifuentes has now left the club, which isn't great. I am going to put them in around mid-table. I don't see them pushing for playoffs, but I do feel like they're one of them clubs where it could turn really, really sour if, things aren't going great and they could be thrown into that relegation battle. Pompey, I think that's mid-table. They're not going anywhere. I think they'll be in the Championship for like the next 5-6 years now. They'll be like a Bristol City. I don't think any Portsmouth fans will complain unless they do dramatically improve, but it's decent progression from where they were 10 years ago in League Two. In saying that, I don't want to annoy any Portsmouth fans. I know a lot of Portsmouth fans were pretty impressed where I put Fratton Park, but I do think Southampton will bounce back and go up automatically. Just another one of them clubs that are way, way off it in the Premier League, but in the Championship, they're really, really good. They came up from the playoffs, and again, they're going to have the money to spend. If they've got Adam Armstrong up front, he's bound to get them 20 goals. Obviously, this is a really, really early prediction, but from right now, even though Southampton were this close to breaking Derby's points record in the Premier League, I feel like they'll just go straight back up next season. Stoke go down, they all go down. They have a drink on the ale. I think mid-table, a playoff push. If Robbins can get his own team together, but then it's hard. Stoke's a really hard one. I'll either be like 19th, 20th, pushing for relegation, or like 14th. Another mid-table club. A lot of mid-table here. I feel like if I had a category in between mid-table and relegation, though, Hull City would be in it. I feel like if it's not one of them bottom 3, it will be Hull. Things have got worse and worse and worse. For a lot of money at it, they brought in some really good loans a couple of seasons ago. Were pushing for playoffs, didn't quite make it, and all the money just seems to have just kind of disappeared. I feel like they're going to have a similar season to the one they just had. 20th, 19th in the table. Not inspiring, but they'll probably stay in the division. Derby. I'm not allowed to say anything good about Derby, but I don't think they'll even touch the relegation zone next season. especially under John Eustace. I think he's a really good manager. I don't want to put them in playoff push, but I think they'll have a mid-table comfortable season, similar to a couple of the teams I've mentioned as well. Now, out of these two sides, one of them I'm expecting to go up automatically, and it's not Wrexham. I'm going to put Wrexham in playoff push, but I don't expect them to be kind of 7th, 8th, 9th. I'm expecting kind of 11th, mid-table. They're winning some weeks, they're losing some weeks, but it's a good progression. Wrexham, again, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when they'll be in the Premier League. Similar to Birmingham City, the money that Rob McElhenney and Ryan Reynolds are throwing at that club is absolutely ridiculous. Just the growth. This club were in non-league back in lockdown. Do you remember lockdown? It don't seem that long ago. They were non-league. They were rotting in non-league. Now they're in the Championship, and their fans are expecting to go to the Premier League in a not so distant future. I am putting them in the playoff push, and I'm expecting Ipswich at this very moment to win the league. They've got some really, really quality players in there. Out of the 3 relegated sides, they were the best last season. I guess Southampton, Leicester, their players were more experienced in the Premier League, and they're just going up and down. But I think just the manager alone, what he brings to the Championship, and then the quality of players that they've got. I know they've lost the lap. Realistically, was he going to stay in the Championship? Absolutely not. And if they can find a decent replacement, they should easily go up automatically. But yeah, that is my prediction so far. I'm sure it's going to change from now until the start of the season. Let me know what you agree with, disagree with in the comments. Thank you very much for watching. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in a bit.